Wario is one of the strangest characters in Nintendo history. He's loud, he's brash, he's a superhero sometimes, a construction worker on the side, and also evil, but good? I don't know. But out of every single confusing and strange decision that Nintendo has made out of our lovable yellow-hatted stallion, one Wario game stands head and shoulders above all of the rest for being the most batch insane. I'm of course talking about the 2003 GameCube hit, Wario World, which you may not remember because it flew under the radar and was also kind of okay. A game that was not only made by a non-Nintendo development team, but also created in a time where Nintendo didn't really know what Wario was supposed to be. Was he a childhood acquaintance that was jealous of Mario? Was he a gold hoarder that enjoyed treasure hunting? Or was he a minigame-centric rage baiter who just wanted to be left alone? The point is, in 2003, nobody knew. So with the monumental task of creating the first ever 3D cohesive world for our yellow-hatted stallion, Treasure threw together this now forgotten fever dream. And it is genuinely one of the strangest things I have ever played in my life. There are some boss fights in this game that dropped my jaw wide open. Like, I'm gonna be thinking about these for the rest of my life. But first, let's talk about some lore. Diving into the game, you immediately get hit by a wall of scrolling text. Basically, there was this evil dark jewel that would feed on the wishes of people and convert their desires into dark power. Using this power, it created evil spirits who tormented the good creatures of the world. Then, just as the evil spirits were about to take over the land, the spritlings of the sacred forest sealed away the dark jewel and hid it away in some ancient ruins. Years passed and everyone forgot about these events. Then Wario's dumb pilfering ass stole the dark jewel because he's Wario. And thus, our story begins. We get a small cutscene of Wario hanging out in his giant and luxurious mansion, which is not only excessive, but also kind of tacky. Don't tell him I said that, it would hurt his feelings. Then the jewel escapes from his chest and destroys everything, and somehow sends Wario into the overworld of this game, Treasure Square. I don't know how to explain Treasure Square without calling it a liminal space. Don't believe me? Well, when you jump off the map, you land on the map. Yeah, this is hell. Each gate leads to one of the worlds on the map, and a giant treasure chest which we can't open. Yet. Also, I don't know where to put this in the script, but if you stare at the camera as Wario, you just kind of see his eyes growing and shrinking, which is a little gross and unnerving. We head into our first world, Excitement Central, and our first stage is the Greenhorn Forest. Because what's more exciting than being lost in the woods? I think now is a really good time to go over Wario's incredibly limited moveset, because it's kind of a weird one. Wario can jump, punch, ground pound, and shoulder charge. He also has this weird Kirby suck-in ability to collect gold, which is useful, but absolutely horrifying to look at. Worked pretty well with Smash Bros though. And finally, when you do a charge and jump mid-charge, you get the Corkscrew Conk. I don't know why they named it that. Wario does have a few more game-defining moves, but first, let's talk about the gameplay loop of the stages. Because it's something that I've never seen before, and that's probably for a very good reason. Alright, sit down. Okay, you ready? Now get a notebook out, because it's gonna be a lot. For starters, this game only has 8 stages, which may sound like a little, but get this. Each stage in this game has 8 jewels to collect. Some of them are in their own micro-challenge stages that you find through trapdoors. They're kind of like the challenge sections in Mario Sunshine, only not as good. Each stage also has 5 spritlings, which are kind of hidden wherever the hell they want to be, and 8 chests. But the treasure chests can't just be found. You have to find a specific color-coded button, which activates the treasure chest on its color-coded spot, and then find that color-coded spot to open said treasure chest. Then, when you're done with all of that, you can deposit the jewels at the end of the stage in order to open the final trap door, which leads to, get this, its own boss fight per stage. And they're actual honest-to-God boss fights too, like with cinematic intros and everything. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Also, you don't really have to collect everything in order to beat the game, but for the sake of content, we will. I'll explain everything in the first stage so you can kind of get a gist of how this game is built, and then we'll zoom out a bit and move faster. We climb a tree in the background and head into this treehouse area to put a beating on these dumb animals. We find our first treasure switch and then grab the treasure that's a little bit to the right. Since this is the first stage, it kind of functions a bit like a tutorial, so the placement of all of these items aren't that mean yet. We head to the right and find our first spriteling. These guys come with helpful advice and are also just quite awful to look at. I really hate their design. They somehow look like really old babies. This next part is a little confusing. I'm sorry. These golden snitch thingies that you're seeing count as one of the 8 jewels, and when you collect all of these, you get more health for the rest of the game. I don't know where it's tracked in your pause menu, but I do know that the pause menu theme in this game is one of the greatest of all time. Fun fact, if you leave this song playing for long enough, Wario apologizes for being annoying. Sorry. Which doesn't seem like something he'd do. We continue rightward and fight more enemies, and now I can show you my favorite move in the game. The move that I spent hours doing as a child. The jumping pile driver. It's just so satisfying, man, and they even give you a number on the top left of the screen to show you how, like, powerful it was, but that number doesn't mean anything. This move does have a functional use, but for now, it just kinda looks cool. This section right here is going to be foreshadowing for the rest of the game. You have these wooden sticks that you have to jump on in order to clear a gap and progress. However, you can see a yellow chest platform on the top. Though most platformers would make you climb to the other side for fear of dying, in this game you have to check everywhere. So by jumping down the pillars, you find the button to spawn the treasure chest at the top. This is essentially what we're going to be doing the entire game, and it is going to have some varying results. We beat up more guys and collect a spriteling, then head into our first challenge stage, which is a pretty simple platforming course, but it's the first level. Come on, cut him a little bit of slack, huh? We head to the right and see 2 walls made of breakable stone. I spend a bunch of time breaking them just in case, then we do another challenge stage which has 2 jewel pieces in it. We head out and find our next spriteling and yet another challenge stage where you have to climb into a giant maze of breakable blocks. These blocks can only be broken if you hit them on the X, so no matter how much you want to do it, you can't just pummel through them. Being a completionist, we sit there and break every single one of them, and what do you know? A hidden jewel piece. Sneaky, sneaky, Wario World. Sneaky, sneaky. You may be wondering why I'm being so cautious in collecting everything, and it's for a very annoying reason that I'll explain in a second. But first, we head up a tree to find a treasure switch, head back down, get another chunk of treasure, and as we head to the right, we see a non-activated treasure spot, which means we have to look around the area. We climb back up a tree, head to the right side, and bada bing, there's the switch, allowing us to go back and collect the treasure chest. We hit our next challenge stage, which is more of a puzzle than anything else, where you have to break pillars just enough to be able to climb to the top. We head out and fight more enemies, and here's another very important move. If you pick up an enemy and spin them around in circles, you weaponize them and deal damage to everything around you. Also, if you pick up an enemy, you can throw them and use them as a projectile to hit hard-to-reach switches. Congratulations, you now know every single move that Wario can do in this game. What is that, like 6? We hit another challenge stage, and god, there's a lot of these, where we have to cling onto a glue orb, which Wario sticks to, and orient ourselves through some wall, which is somehow easier more and harder than it looks. We collect our jewel piece, head to the right, find a treasure we activated, then find another spriteling. We hit another challenge stage, my goodness, where you just activate a switch to get to the top. Then see a treasure we have to activate, so we move forward and keep looking. Now we have a few more game mechanics that we're going to talk about because we're at the end of the stage, and I know it's a lot, but we're almost there, okay? Starting with the second most annoying mechanic in the entire game. If you fall into a pit, instead of dying or taking damage, you are sent to Unihorn's lair, a hellish section where ghost rhino things are trying to hit you and take your gold, while you have to search through all of the boxes on the map to find the escape spring. This happens every single time you fall off the map, and the spring is always in a different place, so you have to guess every time. I'm sure that this is not gonna get old. We get to the end of the stage, and this is Garlic Man. You can pay him money to give you garlic, which Wario eats for health, but if you want some stress in your life, every time you buy garlic from him, it increases in price. And it increases in price as you get further in the game. What is this devil-may-cry bullshit, man? Whenever you get to the end of the stage, you could deposit your jewels in the stone doohickey. It's actually called that, by the way, in order to open the final door. Now here's the worst part. If you're a completionist, or don't have enough jewels, you can jump on the bye-bye balloons, which take you all the way back to the beginning of the stage, so that you can search every crack and crevice again. And since these are such massive stages, every time you take these balloons, you're committing yourself to another 10 to 20 minutes of beating the stage again. We run past everything and see a breakable wall, and then we find 2 treasure switches and 2 challenge stages. The first is just timing a ledge grab to not get hit by spikes, and with that, we collect our final heart fragment gold thing. The other is about hitting 2 switches repeatedly to rotate a block and make it climbable. They kind of cooked here, it's neat. We collect a blue treasure, which is along the upper path near the trees. Then we collect our final treasure, which was near the last spriteling. And with that, we have collected everything and just have to face the final boss, which is just a boxing reptile guy with metal gloves. You kinda just wail on him until he falls over and then pile drive him a few times. With him dead and conquered, we finally finish our first stage. And now you basically understand everything about this game, so we can move a lot faster. We're gonna be doing a tier list of all the bosses, so I'm just gonna put this ugly reptile guy at like F. He's a basic beginner boss for dumbass stank babies. Also, his design just kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies, and not in a fun horror way. He scares me in like the dark alley way. Our next stage is the Greenhorn Ruins. Do you want to laugh? The first thing you see in this stage is an X block. A lot of people would break it because duh. But if you jump on top of it, there is a treasure switch. And if you break it now, there's the treasure that you wouldn't be able to spawn if you broke the block. Sneaky, sneaky, Wario World. Sneaky, sneaky. A little to the right, there's a lot of breakable little boxes, and surely enough, both a treasure switch and a treasure are hidden inside. This has now conditioned us to make sure to break every single breakable wall block thing, while also conditioning us to not break them without thinking. It's like the 2 wolves inside of me are cannibalizing each other. We collect 2 spritelings, do a spin-a-rooney move thing, and kill a bunch of innocent bystanders, then run into a gate you can only open by doing a spin throw. There's a new kind of trap door here where the floor is made out of metal, which you can only get into when you pile drive something. So I go upstairs to grab something to pile drive and all the enemies just despawn. Sick prank, bro. The reason why the metal trap doors are so annoying is because the enemies are just a little bit too fat to always make it in. So sometimes you try to pile drive something into the trapdoor and then just bounce off the corner and have to find another guy to pile drive. This secret stage is a lot roomier than the others because it actually has some platforming in it. We beat this segment, head outside, and continue to explore the ruins. This stage is incredibly vertical, which is a massive difficulty spike in collectathons. Something I haven't mentioned mentioned yet is that in the actual stages, you're stuck with a fixed camera, which may not actually sound that bad at first, but a lot of the vertical sections in this game end up being a leap of faith. Also, the developers knew this was the case, so they end up hiding a bunch of stuff just out of the reach of your vision. Still, even with a decent amount of glaring issues, I'll admit that at this point, I was having fun. It's a janky collectathon with Wario in it. I can't really complain. I can't complain much. Okay, I'll complain. We collect a few more straggler pieces here and there, and then do a challenge stage where we have to climb a tower. The challenge stages are the only part of the game that have a free camera, and they use it pretty well. We get to an awkward climbing section where I find another chest, then hit this challenge stage where I have to climb cogs, and another one where I have to jump over sliding platforms, which kind of feels like a monkey ball stage. So does this one, where you have to lift Wario head statues randomly until you find what you're looking for. We finish up this section, head to the end of the stage, and find our final trapdoor to collect our last jewel. And yet again, did monkey ball not do this? Finally, we head to our second boss, a sandworm with knife hands in a pit of quicksand. Jesus Christ. If this is what they put Wario through, can you blame him for always being in a bad mood? This is hell. This is hell. For the most part, this boss isn't that bad. He spits things at you, tries to stab you, accelerates the speed of the quicksand, and also chases you when he's pissed. But Wario is fast and strong and tanky. He has so much health. So we end up winning. I'm gonna give this boss a C tier because those hands are excessive, but not as excessive as these. With that, we only had to face the world boss to finish this zone. And just watch this boss intro. Excitement Central, Dino Mighty's Showdown, my god. That's so stupid. Like, it's stupid, but it got me. For the most part, this boss is pretty easy. You just smack her enough times to distract her so you can grab onto her tail and hit her on the head with a ground pound. Still, that intro is pretty funny, so I'll put this boss in B tier. With our first world done, we're going to speed up again because now you truly understand every little thing about this game. My voice is getting a little hoarse, so I'm gonna have to start speaking a little lower. I'm sorry. The next world in this game is Spooktastic World. What the hell are they doing to you, Wario? Leave them alone! This stage introduces doors that kind of just beat your ass. Shoutouts Godhand. Normally when children's games do spooky stages, they do like fun spooky, maybe a dry bones here or there, or a scary bat monster. But this stage is actually just dark. There's unmarked graves, all the trees are dead. Hell, even the bonus stages take place in like an abandoned mine sometimes. But the weirdest part of this stage is that when you traverse through it and finally get under the mansion, there's like a giant industrial factory there for some reason. This is the stuff that internet creepypastas are made of. I really wish I knew the lore here for what the devs were going for, because it's kind of insane conceptually. The bonus stages here definitely turned up the difficulty slider. The platforming is harder, the puzzles are smarter, but still for dumb babies. And have I mentioned how much I love these challenge sections? They're actually so great. As tricky as a haunted spooky level sounds, fortunately, none of the collectibles were too hard to find since the stage was pretty straightforward. Meaning, I still haven't had to use the bye-bye balloons. But we'll get there. Alright, you ready? Here's where it starts getting weird. The boss in this stage is a flying baby that immediately turns his head around 180 degrees. Because why wouldn't they add that? He tries to fly into you, hits you with his wings, and even shoots a bunch of lasers. And this is where I got my first game over, which just makes you pay money to get back up, which is pretty forgiving. I like this mechanic a lot. After a couple pile drivers, we kill the stupid Cupid baby and finish off one half of Spooktastic World. I'm gonna have to put this boss higher on B tier than the last one because he's horrifying. Now, what's scarier than a graveyard and a haunted mansion, you might ask? Well, that answer is quite simple. A circus, of course. This stage starts with you getting swarmed by baby clowns, which is probably like top 4 nightmares ever. I want to take a second as we go through this stage to talk about how this game absolutely nails presentation in a way that's kind of impressive. In the circus stage, almost every single enemy you fight will be circus themed. There are enemies that you're gonna see here and nowhere else, which is the case for almost all of the stages, but the circus really takes it to that next level. There's small clowns, big clowns, clown rockets, elephants, bowling pins, dinosaurs dressed up as babies, and my favorite, a caged animal that never gets out of his cage. He just stands up. Like, it's so funny. Hell, even climbing in this place uses some mechanics that you'll never see again. The glue orbs swing around to resemble a trapeze. Visually, this is one of the cooler stages in the game, but so many of them scream personality. There's an electric wall with moving targets that you have to throw enemies into in order to disable it, like a carnival game. There's a set of bowling pins that you have to throw bombs at, and when you're charging your throw, it shines a spotlight at the bowling pin that you're aiming at, which doesn't happen ever again. It's just for this one bit. Also, the last bowling pin starts sweating when you aim at it, which creates the idea that it is conscious enough to perceive danger. Ooh, don't like that. There's a challenge stage here where you have to stand on a giant ring that slowly tilts back and forth, but you have to walk all the way to the other side because once it tilts enough, you can jump off and make it to the center platform. This is personally my least favorite kind of challenge in platforming. I hate when platformer games make you wait for stuff. If I wanted to add a wait, I would have donuts. That's such a bad joke. This stage commits quite possibly the worst atrocity a collectathon could commit, and that is forced backtracking. I see this block with an X on it and I ground pound, which leads us to a lower section of the level, but there's no way back up to the previous section. So if there was a button or a trapdoor I was meaning to get to, I now unfortunately have to get to the end of the stage and take the bye-bye balloons all the way back to the beginning. In this challenge stage, you have to use the glue orb's momentum to launch yourself across the map. There's also a glue orb that throws you into fire and sends you straight to hell. There's a challenge stage that's just the devs kind of being over it. Like, they just slapped some random shit in a room and called it a day. And I get it. But then, to make up for it, there's another one that is a gauntlet of disappearing platforms and spinning spike balls. We get to the end of the stage and have to take the bye-bye balloons back, find the rest of the stuff that we missed by painstakingly checking every crack and crevice, and finally, it was time to face the boss. A nice and happy big boy on a bouncing ball. And then he does this. Ew! Jesus Christ! What is that? Brother, what the hell is that? So beyond him ripping off fake heads and having them attack you the entire fight, he also rides his big bouncing ball from platform to platform. And if you don't attach yourself to the platform as he rides away, he throws it at you. I don't know why it's so funny. He throws it at you and it's straight up an atomic bomb. I don't know why that's so funny. Also, I have no clue why some of the heads look different, like some of them are bald with lipstick on. I'm gonna have to put big bouncing big ball boy on A tier. Genuinely horrifying stuff. With the circus stage completed, it was time for our next world boss, which is just kind of a giant water snake? Oh, wait, hold on, there's two of them. That's two giant water snakes? I'm gonna be straight up with you, I didn't really figure out what I was supposed to be doing here. I just kind of punched one of them until they fell over, and then the other one would breathe fire and hit them, and I think that was the strategy, but I turned my brain off. Wario has so much health at this point that I just tanked everything. It might be one of the worst bosses in the game. From design to gameplay, it just kind of felt like nothing was going on, so I'm gonna put him in F tier. With that completed, we collect our second key chunk and head into the final half of the game, which starts with, by far, the worst stage in Wario World. Welcome to World 3. Thrillsville, with our first stage, the Shivering Mountains. This stage immediately starts off with an ice slide to a lower section. We collect some treasure, then notice a trapdoor that's like on top of a cabin. Not knowing what to do, I try to bait these birds to carry me and found out that if you wait too long, they just throw the hell out of you. Eventually it works and we hit a challenge stage where you have to break a tower, but also time it so you don't get hit by rotating spike balls. It's kind of annoying. We head to the left and head up these Christmas trees, then I accidentally fall off on the left and make a horrifying realization. The Christmas trees aren't supposed to be hard to get to. You have to just slide down the correct ramp to reach them. And if you don't slide down the correct ramp to get there, tough shit. We head to the right and fight this ice angler fish guy that blocks your path, and he's ridiculous. Like, brother, what is this, Toho? But now it's time to see the object of my trauma. This jewel piece on the next ice slide. Because if you miss it, as you slide down, there is no way to climb back up and try again without taking the bye-bye balloons all the way back to the beginning of the stage. Not only that, but the hitboxes on these jewel things are almost non-existent, so you have to make sure that you are lined up perfectly. Have you ever wondered why in Mario Odyssey, no matter which stage you're in, your shadow is always directly beneath you? It's not because of graphical limitations. It's an intentional choice to help players line up their jumps. Wario World doesn't do this, so it really is a crapshoot and is so unfortunately ass. We head into the ice caves at the bottom of the slide, then hit a challenge stage, which is fun conceptually. All of these levers make the platform start moving, and you have to time the levers to make the platforms crossable. There's a bunch of ice paths on this part of the map, which are confusing but manageable. A pretty funny thing I noticed halfway through this playthrough is that though Wario is a Nintendo property, it almost feels like the developers were instructed to not use anything from Nintendo. So many of the enemies you run into have a slight similarity to other Nintendo characters. They're just a little uglier, I guess. There's this big fat ice cream cone looking character towards the end of the stage that just bumps you off the paths if you touch them. And I haven't talked about this in a while because what the hell am I supposed to say about it? But at this point, I've been in Unihorn's lair like 30 times, and it is just as tedious every single time. There's a lot of challenges here which are just moving platforms, but even though that's been done to death, it's still kind of fun. I mean, I like it. This one at the end though just looks like a murder contraption devised to keep souls in the lowest rung of hell. What did this specific spriteling do to end up here? Get him out of there. Was he racist? Let him go. Oh, he was racist? Leave him there then. With everything collected, we head to the stage boss, and I'm not joking when I say that this might be the most unnerving boss that Nintendo has ever put together. I am not exaggerating. Look at this intro video. My God. My goodness. What in the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask are we going for here? This tiny-bodied, dead-eyed boss swims in the air. He blows ice breath on you to freeze you in place. Then he just kind of comes down to beat the shit out of you, which is funny. But this next move, oh, this next move. His eyes go red, and the camera focuses on him. And if Wario is caught staring at him, this happens. Huh? What the f was that? He possesses you, inflates you, and tries to drop you over a spike pit. Like, is that not the most f***ed up thing? All of it. All of it. The vibe, the way that Wario swells up, the whole thing is just horrifying. Also, when the boss is unconscious, his eyes close, which is a very freakish attention to detail. After defeating this boss and then just kind of staring at my ceiling for a bit, we put the worst level of the game behind us and head into the latter half with some cautious optimism. This stage took me over an hour, and I don't even think I have to say this, but this boss, very top of S tier. You could add all the Elden Ring bosses onto this tier list, and I think I would still put this guy at the very top. The next stage is Beanstalk Way, which in my headcanon is the stage the developers made to apologize for the last one. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's definitely forgettable. They don't introduce many mechanics, the enemies specific to this area are kind of dull and boring. Maybe I'm misreading here, but it almost feels like the developers were out of ideas at this point. Hell, one of the challenge stages is just a shape used in the older challenge stages, scaled way up and rotating. That's it. That's the whole stage. There's these flying magnet guys introduced that you're supposed to knock out in the air and then throw at a metal wall to create a platform, but it's just kind of awkward. And sometimes they don't even stick to the wall. They just explode. There's a challenge stage where you have to use the momentum of moving blocks to jump large gaps, which is cute, but also, damn, I'd like to see Wario's quads. Dems has gotta be titanium. This stage also does that incredibly annoying thing where progression past a certain point means you have to beat the entire stage again in order to go back. You get it by now, it's annoying. We finish up everything in the most boring stage in the game, then head to the stage boss, which is just like a spider that served in the military. Conceptually, kinda horrifying. Practically, not so much. I've already heard of army ants, can't be much different. You just jump on the glue orbs he shoots out and then butt slam him when you're over his head. Timing is quite tight though. And with that stage finished, we head to the third world boss, Red Brief J, who is described as, and I quote, a flamboyant, bull-like creature who uses fiery tackles and spinning attacks to confound Wario. He may not be in the military like the last boss, but he is serving. He poses, stomps, and tries to tackle you, and all you gotta do is ground pound the center of the map whenever he's off balance. A lot easier than most of the bosses, but at least the stage design was kinda cool. I'll put him in C tier because the stage looked nice. Before we head into our fourth and final world, I want to talk about something specifically about this game that's so jarring, and that of course is the pacing, or the lack thereof. It's kind of all over the place in every single way. The worlds don't make a lot of sense, and the stages have no cohesive design choice. Excitement Central is a forest and ruins. Thrillsville is a beanstalk and an ice mountain. Spooktastic World is a manor and a circus. Okay, wait, that one makes sense. Most importantly though, is that the difficulty doesn't really seem to spike at all. It almost feels like the devs created all of the stages in this game and then just kind of placed them randomly. In traditional platformers, the escalation of difficulty normally comes in an evolving moveset, which challenges you to evolve with your character, or a difficulty climax which requires more refined movement while also presenting an impending end, like Bowser's mid-ass castle. Both of these things don't happen here. Wario doesn't evolve because why would he? He's a Chad, and the worlds decide not to make sense all the way till the very end. This is probably why this game was so forgettable. It kinda just feels like you're playing a bunch of demos and then it's over. Now it's time for our final two stages, starting with one of the most unique ones in the game, the Mirror Mansion. This is yet another horror stage, and they pull out all the stops in making creepy enemies, like the monster doll, which is just a stuffed humanoid doll with cat ears, or the masked clubber, which is straight up just Jason Voorhees. There's even a magician enemy who's locked up because he's performing an escape trick. god, that's so funny. The main mechanic of this stage is forcing the player to use mirrors in order to see what's going on, which is pretty fun when it's not annoying. Even the challenge stages on this map are off-putting, which is a nice touch. Speaking of off-putting, how about masked birds that throw spike balls at you? Sure thing, man, I guess. Or being closed in by ghostly paintings with demon arms. I think out of every single stage design in this game, this one made me the second most nervous when it came to collectibles, because the devs could have been really tricky if they wanted to be, but they were actually quite nice. Though this game didn't really have a looming sense of difficulty or scaling, the challenge stages, oh, they did. This may be my second favorite stage in the entire game, right behind the circus. It really just nails the vibe well, and I didn't have to take the buy balloons, so that definitely folded into my bias. The boss here is just so fun. He's a coward, so he hides in cups, and then the cups shuffle and you have to smack the right cup. But he's crafty, so even when you hit the right cup, you have to jump up and hit it again in order to make him fall out. He's such a cutie. I love him. I'm gonna put him in A tier. I just with his vibe. He's fun. Finally, we have the final stage in the game, the Pecan Sands, which is my second least favorite stage in this entire game because it takes all of the issues I have with the collectibles and turns it up to 11. The whole stage is climbing a pyramid by circling around it, but obviously they hid collectibles in every single section. So you have to climb up, then double back constantly while making leaps of faith, hoping to see something that you haven't. Realistically, getting to the start of this stage and to the end of it only takes about 5 minutes, yet somehow I was stuck here for an hour and a half. I'm not gonna lie though, a good amount of the time here I actually spent in the challenge stages, because these were definitely the hardest in the game by a mile. It really feels like this was the only point in the game where the devs were allowed to go wild with what they were making. Like, one of these puzzles took me 20 minutes alone. You had to punch moving blocks in a very specific way to create platforms towards your goal, but you had to use a mechanic that was never explained or even obvious. If you make two sliding blocks clash into each other below another sliding block, the shockwave sends the block above upward, and the clashing blocks have to be almost dead center for this to work. It was finicky and weird, and even though I know the solution now, I feel like it would still take me some time to figure it out again. There was another one that used the same mechanic, only this one you have to ground pound a block onto another one, and then it bounces upward. Oh, I could have just done that, huh? The platforming challenge stages are a lot harder, and they do offer a pretty decent challenge. Oh my god. Oh my god. Like this one where you have to run and balance on rotating platforms while also dodging spike traps on the 1x1 bridge. Thank God you don't lose health for failing these, cause boy, did I fall. With everything finally completed through rigorous backtracking, leaps of faith, and heavy sighs, we get to the boss stage and he's just like a chess piece that breathes fire that you have to hit with other chess pieces? Absolute throwaway boss, I'll be real. F tier. Finally, it was time for our last stage boss, Captain Skull. And I loved fighting this guy as a kid, because when you do a pile driver on him, you can bounce off of this trampoline thing and go higher. He just kind of shoots things at you, so you have to wail on him, and then when he's low on health, he starts blocking, so you have to throw one of his bombs back at him. Simple, but still very fun. Do your attack, yep. Here comes the big slammer jammer. Eat my ass, Captain We finish all 4 worlds, get the final giant treasure piece key, and can finally unlock the giant treasure chest, which unleashes the Dark Jewel, aka the bastard that turned all of Wario's treasure into evil spirits. The world, like, explodes, and then an arena forms in the center of Treasure Square, where you have to finish your final fight. The jewel flies in the middle of the map, and you have to free Spritlings while he tries to cut you off with firewalls and laser beams. When you free all of the Spritlings, he gets stunned, then you can hit him with a big throw attack. It is actually very straightforward, and if you collected everything like me, you have so much health that you could just tank whatever the hell you want. He's kind of forgettable, I'll be real. With the jewel exploded and defeated, we roll the final cutscene of the game. Cry your ass to death. I win. Oh, here it is. The not creepy at all final cutscene of the game. This is not jarring or awkward. You did it! You defeated all the evil monsters. Everything will be all right now. Wario, we're saved. Thank you. The evil black jewel has been smashed to powder. Monsters won't come back now, but even if they do, I think we can handle them. As a reward, we're going to rebuild your ruined castle. We Spritlings aren't strong, so without a lot of us, I doubt we can rebuild your castle right, but we'll do our best with what we have. Here goes. Now, based on how many Spritlings you save, you can actually get a different ending screen. If you save all 40 of them like I did, Wario gets to sit in his luxurious castle with the golden walls and Wario statues to boot. However, if you save less Spritlings, you get worse builds. From 31 to 39 saved, you get a golden castle without the Wario statues and gold coins everywhere. From 21 to 30, you get a silver castle where Wario is disappointed and says, "What are you trying to do to me?" From 11 to 20, you get a stone castle where Wario says, "I'm Wario. I can't live in something like this." And from 2 to 10, you get a wooden castle where he says, "You must be kidding. This isn't funny, you idiots." And if you save just one Spritling, you get a tent. And Wario says, "What did you do?" I love how Wario always keeps his big-ass chair, and in the really bad ending, the chair is bigger than the tent. It just feels like something he would actually do. Wario World stands as a pretty important game in the history of Nintendo. It was Wario's only 3D adventure with a presentation that we will never see again. It's actually the last game that was ever directed by Hitoshi Yamagami, who quit his game director days and decided to become a game producer on much less important and insignificant projects, like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Bayonetta 1 and 2, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, and Fire Emblem Three Houses. Yeah, I've never heard of those games either. I hope you enjoyed this weird dive into one of the strangest Nintendo games ever made. YouTube thinks you're gonna like this video, so please check it out. Also, I started uploading on my second channel. Go subscribe over there if you want more frequent content. I think I uploaded like 3 times this week or something. I promise it's a good time. I'll see you there. Anyways, have a wonderful day. Goodbye. Oh, my legs. Oh, they're f***ing numb. Jesus, that took over an